Hello and welcome back to Not Another Leeds podcast because another Leeds podcast, what could go wrong? Once you've watched all the good ones, you can come and watch me. Right, on today's podcast, I've got the true legend and OG of Leeds YouTube podcasting. It's Mr. Gary Devonport. Hello, guys. How are you?
Dan, how are you doing, mate? I'm good, thank
I'm
you.
good.
Thanks
I'm
for
good, mate.
inviting me on, mate. Thanks for inviting me
No,
on.
no,
It's a
it's
pleasure.
a pleasure, mate. Thank you for coming on. Right, have we calmed down?
Mate, like I said before we came on, mate, I'm a pretty chill, to be fair. 46 game season, one down, 45 to go. Lots and lots of positives for me. Yeah, I'm pretty cool with it, to be fair. Pretty happy.
Yeah, we never do it the easy way, do we? It's always it's always a Leeds way. I mean, it did feel like there was a lot of hangover from last season. I mean, we'll go through the game in a minute for all those watching, and we'll pick out what we liked and what we disliked, and the progression and the as ratings at the end. But for you, let's start at the beginning, then, guys. You saw that team sheet. What was your first impression?
Um, it pretty much wrote itself, mate, to a degree, didn't it? Because obviously we've got a lot of injuries. We're still in this bit of a transfer limbo where people might go out. Well, people probably will go out. We appear to be keeping our sort of powder dry to a degree in terms of incomings, and yeah, I think it pretty much wrote itself. I think for me the two left-footed centre halves were the first one where you're a bit like, bit unbalanced, but I kind of get it, a bit of experience. Despite what you think of Cooper or Stroke, I get the concept of them too. Yeah, it wrote itself, mate, didn't it? Obviously, chuffed to see Archie Gray get his chance. I think he's been obviously knocking on the door for a bit, but it's never been a great time to give him a chance with obviously relegation battles and everything else that's gone with the last few years. So now, mate, pretty much wrote itself for me. Obviously, lack of strikers. Could Joffrey have started again? Maybe, yeah, but is he really a nine? Probably not. So yeah, it kind of wrote itself to a degree. But you look at it and you think that front four, of James, Sinister, and Nonto and Somerville should terrify teams really with pace. And I think it did for large parts today. So yeah, it wrote itself. Yeah, no real surprises to be fair.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we all were wondering with obviously the injuries to Rutter with his core, and it's just typical that Bamford they both got injuries before, in a friendly of all things as well. So and then Mateo Joseph got injured during the week, so we're starting without strikers, and we're all dreading. Oh, not Dan James again, which I thought he was okay today, Dan James, but I just didn't want him in that number 9. But I did think Nonto did a good job. But for the first 10 minutes of the game, we did some good passing, and some loose passes around there. I don't know what it is, but like for the first 20 minutes, we always seem to play really well. We're knocking on the door, and then we go and concede an absolute horrendous goal.
Yeah, I think in football sometimes it sometimes looks like for 20 minutes teams are well on top, and I think sometimes you've got to give a bit of credit to opposition that sometimes they adapt to what they're seeing in front of them. Certainly, your
Mm.
better teams will adapt and they'll find ways of combating what your team are doing. But yeah, you're right, mate. Today it very much felt like it did in the Premier League, where on 20 minutes, not loads of chances, but ball in good areas and a couple of chances that we don't take. I think about the Nonto one that's sort of an half volley over his shoulder. He should probably do a little bit better with. But yeah, the thing is, it's difficult, isn't it? Because you can play as many preseason games as you like, and it's not a substitute for the real thing. And today was the real thing, and we're not Nonto's not a 9, arguably. I know he's played there for Italy, but it's a bit different in the Championship. And yeah, first game of the season, you've kind of got to have a little bit of a thought of that. But then, yeah, the conceding the goal, I think it's one of them. We briefly talked off air where Nonto and Ayling don't really communicate that well. They both got to press the same man that allows O'Dowda to run into the space that Ayling's vacated by pushing forward. It's one of them where if if Nonto goes for that ball and Ayling sits in, that never happens because he can cut out O'Dowda's running behind. But these things happen. New systems, new way of playing, a little bit of confusion. Like I say, 45 game season, game one of 46 game season, game one of 46, and these things are going to happen, and I'm quite happy for them to happen early doors, really.
Yeah, 100%. I totally agree with that. I mean, if we need to iron out the kinks, or rather the mistakes are made now. I mean, let's go through the goal then. So the first goal, obviously, like you said, there's a bit of miscommunication between Nonto and Ayling. Ayling's just caught middle of nowhere, and O'Dowda's got room to plant vegetables and just stay there as long as he wants. And I just think that I mentioned it briefly off air where he cuts in. Ayling's trying to get back as fast as he can, but Struijk is on the edge of the corner of the 6 yard, and I just wondered maybe if he could have just stepped up and just pressured O'Dowda, so he has to make a quick decision, and while Ayling can just tuck him behind, and then obviously it's blocked. I think was it Ampadu that blocked it the first shot. We'll talk about Ampadu in a minute. But and then you've got the marking from Leeds where it was a bit scattergun, and then somehow the rebound comes back and he finds is it Josh Bowler? I know he's Bowler. It finds his way underneath Hjelder's knee and then just nettles in the right hand corner. I mean, does that just seem typical Leeds to you?
Yeah, it's one of them, mate, isn't it? Like, again, the Struijk thing. Is he kind of thinking, I'll force him wide and we'll deal with a cross if there is one coming? Obviously, he does a bit of neither, really. He doesn't force him wide. He kind of hangs off, lets him progress into box. And then, the ball goes across the initial shot there. And Ampadu, sticks a leg out to try and block it. But it's one of them at quite close distance. He can't really get anything on it. Just manages to get a block on it. And, typically when teams are expected to be dominant and amazing, they have not very much luck. And I think we saw today in a couple of times where the ball just seems to bounce favourably for them. And in this case, it drops to I think the striker, whose name eludes me at the moment, but he kind of
Ugbo. Is it Ugbo?
Ugbo, yeah, the ex-Chelsea lad, and he pokes it back. And Josh Bowler, to be fair to him, don't panic, don't try and put his foot through it, just strokes into that bottom corner. And you're right. Again, a couple of bits of luck there where ball drops to him, and then the lack of trying to the two players, Cooper and Elder, trying to block it, and he goes underneath both of them. That's the way it goes sometimes in football. But I think credit to us, even at one down, it didn't seem to really phase us. We just carried on trying to get back in it and trying to play our game. And then obviously to concede so close to half time with a second goal is a bit of a kick in teeth, and you start fearing the worst. But I'll be honest, I text Paddy, obviously, who used to be on podcast with us, and said, look, I still think we could win this 3-2. It's just one of them. If you take their goals in isolation, I feel like there's a little bit of luck involved, there's a little bit of bad defending, but rest of the time we're pretty solid. Melia hadn't really had massive amounts to do. He's not under dogs amounts of pressure. He's not having to come and claim ball. He's not having to make saves. They've just kind of broke against us, and despite what Sky commentators, because I had to endure it on Sky today, despite what they make you believe, suddenly Cardiff are amazing. I thought we played well. To be fair,
I mean, we've got a comment here from Matty Jackson, and he says, "Look, Ayling's not good enough for this system." Do you agree with that? I know we do need to improve. I get that. I mean, Ayling's been around for 8 years at Leeds. Is it time for him just to take a mentor role, or do you think we should move him on when we can?
I think that I don't disagree. For me, he was at fault for both goals today, or had some part in conceding both goals. But it's like trying to find the fine balance where not too much youth in there. You've got to have a little bit of experience, a little bit of a hold head to kind of settle you down. And, when you do go 2-0 down against Cardiff at Ellen Road and the crowd start to turn a little bit, which inevitably we do because we're fickle and we're Leeds fans and all football fans are fickle. You need a bit of a calm head every now and again to just get around some of the young lads and have a word. And I think we're our average age, something like 23 today or something like that. So, a fairly young side. We lost Cooper, obviously, to an injury when he scored the goal. And
Yeah.
And then you look at it then, and we bring Creswell on, and as much as he's been brilliant, you know, you're forever making the team younger and younger, and you do need a bit of a hold head, and I think that's probably at the minute what's putting Ayling in front of Drama for the minute. But yeah, I don't doubt that if it feels Luke like he's on the decline a little bit, he's still a bit of a threat going forward, but he's getting more and more caught out going backwards. I feel from a
Yeah.
defensive point of view, but again, it's finding the balance with experience, you know, and talent and technique, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, I 100%, you're spot on again, Gaz. I feel like we are using Ayling. You know, when you try and get the last dregs out of a wet cloth, I just feel like we're trying to use that. I mean, I don't know what's going on with Drama. I think, is he still injured?
I'm not
Injured.
sure, mate. Yeah. People are obviously speculating today the fact he weren't involved at all if he was still injured
Mm.
in air quotes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, for me, you look at it again and you go, right. So we bring some experience in our next four signings that Leeds are alleged to be wanting to make. Does that then allow Drama to come in and play a little bit more, or do we see Byram go out there potentially if we bring a
Mm.
left back in? Who knows,
Yeah.
really? Drama's been fantastic for Luton and Cardiff, respectively, when he's obviously been on loan there. But it's Leeds United, and sometimes we're a little bit different in terms of the expectation put on them. So we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah.
Mate, I'd be easy either way. To be honest. If
Yeah. I mean,
Drama came in,
obviously.
great.
Yeah, I mean, from what I saw in pre-season from Drama, I thought he did okay. You know, he's still young, but then again, I thought Hilda did okay in pre-season. But let's talk quickly about the second goal. I mean, obviously, we had chances in between. I mean, actually going to one of the chances where Dan James, it fell to Dan James, edge of the box, and you got Ayling screaming at him on the right hand side, and I think everyone watching Sky in the stadium could see it to pass to Luke Ayling, but I'm a big advocate of Dan James not shooting from 20 yards out. What do you think?
Yeah, he's one of them, innit, where if he tries to make the pass and he don't make it, he gets accused of overplaying, and then if he has a shot and it flies into the Cop or the South Stand, I can't remember which end it were at. He gets accused of doing exactly what we're talking about now. We're not making the
Yeah,
pass, and like we talked about a little bit off air, I know footballers now are encouraged to get the ball into high percentage areas to potentially score a goal. So the old XG nonsense that we
yeah,
hear time and time again, and it's been one of my criticisms of Leeds over the last couple of years that we very rarely pull trigger, very rarely test the keeper from distance. It's always trying to play intricate little plays around the box and create them high percentage chances of scoring. So I don't know with Dan James. He works hard. He provides a threat because of his pace, but he's distinctly lacking his end product, and that were another example of his end product not being great.
yeah. I mean, he's again in pre-season. I thought, oof, who's this? Is it Jamesinho from Brazil? He's showing his 1% Brazilian heritage. These crosses were on, they were really good. But then we saw the Dan James we all know and love today at some, in sporadic bursts. But I do think there's a player there now. I do think
Yeah,
that he's been working on his crossing and stuff like that. But yeah, I think he'll get a couple of goals this season and a few assists at most. But yeah, that's one to watch, and don't come back and clip this when he's absolutely rubbish. So moving on. Oh, by the way, I've got Ayling flop 36 minutes. So if you had 36 minutes, you win a bathroom set of his and hers bath towels. Right. So the goal on 38 minutes. Let's go through it. Because for me, the biggest annoyance for me was I think it was Strike stepped up to pressure the ball, and it was just a quick 1-2 round Yelder, and then it was a shot that deflected, and then it went across goal, and this Luke Ayling just looked slow to me, and instead they just knocked it in. I mean, what are your thoughts on that, Gaz?
yeah, I think you're probably right, mate. The first phase of play, I think we give the ball away a bit cheap. Catches as a sort of out of possession. I think it's Sinistera, I think, who gives it away rather easily. But yeah, obviously it goes down that, it ends up down that right hand side. And yeah, Ayling gets caught for me, ball watching a little bit. The man drifts off him, and he's there at the back post to tap it in. Yeah, probably easy to drop it at his door, but I think as a defensive unit, not great in terms of defending. Feel like we can probably do better than that, if I'm honest.
Yeah, I mean, going across the starting back four, you've got Hjelde at left back, you've got Struijk at left centre back, then Cooper,
Yeah.
both of which are
Oh, right.
left-footed. Oh, right.
Strike started right, yeah.
Right, so both of which the left-footed, aren't they?
Yeah.
And then you've got Ayling on the right. I mean, obviously, three of them played in the championship winning team of Bielsa's last season in the championship when we went up as champions. Now, to say that we've been in the Premier League for 3 years, 2 of which have been bab, and we're still using the same players.
Yeah.
A major upgrades needed. Talking about just defence.
I think the proof's in the pudding. Yeah, the fact that we had the worst defence in the Premier League last year, that the year before it weren't much better. Yeah, the proof's in the pudding, mate. That we need more, probably better, more technical defenders in the back four. I mean, Strauch, I'll be really honest, probably goes down as one of them controversial opinions, but I've not been sold on him for quite some time now. Defensively, I feel that he's lacking. I think that if he was a player we'd signed, he'd probably get a lot more flack from the fans than he does do because he's come through the youth system. Coops, you know what you get with him, 100%, 110% every game. He'll put his head in there, he'll stick his foot in there, he'll do the horrible stuff. He's had an incredible career at Leeds. He's been a fantastic captain, in my opinion. But again, he's guilty occasionally of getting caught out of position. He's I think, as Danny's mentioned in the comments, neither of them are particularly quick. Hjelde really making his debut back there, and then Ayling that we've already discussed. So yeah, I think the proof's in the pudding that we do need some not replacements, but certainly some upgrades and people to really push them players. Whereas, let's be honest, Cock and Llorente weren't really pushing anybody prior to that.
Yeah.
So if Nat Phillips is coming in, which is obviously the rumor, that'd be an upgrade on what we've already got. And then, if you look to potentially start working Cresswell into the team, I feel like they're probably slightly pacier, more youthful centre backs for me.
Yeah, once again, guys, spot on. I mean, it's quite a touch of fate, really, because I remember when we played Cardiff in the Championship last time, we were 3-1 or 3-0 up, and obviously Struijk came on, and then he had a massive blunder, and I think their striker who had not scored in like stupid amount of games just tapped it around Meslier.
Yeah.
And I remember speaking to you after the game actually and thinking, how bad was that? And you were like, because you weren't sold on him then, were you? I think has this guy for life, Struijk?
I don't know, mate. He's one of them where I think there could be a player in there, but I don't know if we broke him playing at left back and then not playing at centre back, and then he's playing a weak defence. I don't know. I feel like he's probably one of them like luxury centre backs. Whereas if you've got somebody who's solid outside of him, and you've got a solid holding two in front of him or whatever, and somebody who can screen him and look after him a little bit. I mean, let's be honest. He's been playing left-sided centre back, or he's been playing left back, which like left back needs some sort of voodoo doll thing putting on, because we're just broken at left back, and it's never going to be easy playing outside of people like Junior Firpo or improvised left backs. But yeah, he's
it's definitely a Leeds United curse, isn't it? The left back position is
100%.
definitely a Leeds United curse. There's just a group of witches around a cauldron somewhere just saying they will not sign a left back, a decent one that cares. I'm looking at you, Firpo. Anyway, half time comes around. We're 2-0 down. You can sense the fans are disappointed and frustrated, I'll say first. What is your? I mean, you're the manager. What changes do you think you'd make there? Obviously, we know what happened, but would you change a lot, or would you just say get out there and just try again?
I actually would have put Sinclair out on the left, took James off and brought Joffrey on and played him in that space behind Nonto. Obviously, don't do that. Takes Elder off and puts Byram on. And to be fair, it were an inspired choice. It got us a bit further up on left hand side. It got us a bit higher up part. We seemed to retain possession better, and basically we penned them in second half. We made it really hard for them. Obviously, Cooper gets the header and puts us back in the game. And it's that old saying in football that 2-0 is not a great scoreline, because if your opposition get a goal straight away, the tails are up and the crowd turns and it start making it hard for them. And like I say, I didn't particularly think first half that Cardiff were well worth their 2-0 lead, if I'm honest, as much as and Andy Hinchcliffe tried to make it sound on Sky Sports. And I felt that if we got a goal, we could make it hard for them and we could put them under pressure. I just felt we were missing a bit of a cutting edge, as in like a proper 9. You could see a couple of times, first and second half, where players didn't put the ball in or didn't go into that area where you'd normally find a 9, because obviously there's an improvised 9 there in Nonto, and he's not particularly going to attack space. He wants to pick it up, turn and run at people, because that's kind of his thing. So I kind of felt that week we'd be more sort of aggressive, more dominant, and I think we saw that every time the ball broke down, Cardiff got it. We ratted around, won it back. Ampadu and Gray were instrumental in that, and then we played it again into good areas, and I personally feel like we were unlucky not to come away with a victory. I think Fark might have said similar, but yeah.
Yeah, no, I totally. I mean, if we go back to the first half where Nonto, he put it just past the post, which I think he should be finishing. You did touch on it. I think he should be finishing that, but I think he's just gone for power and he's gone for the top corner. I mean, let's face it, we did make loads of chances, but at some point I thought that Somerville and Cine were just holding it on, slowing down play a little bit by just too many touches, but they did recycle the ball, which is really good, isn't it? I mean, we're a team that can pass the ball again. I mean, how it was good just to see us just retain possession compared to what we've been through for the past 18 months to 2 years. I mean, passages of play, just scripted movements, if you will. And I just thought we'd look a million times better than we did for 2 years in the Premier League.
Yeah, I must admit, I was going to tweet at half time. I'm enjoying watching Leeds United, but then obviously 2-0 down, I thought it wouldn't be very palatable on the old Twitter sphere. So I didn't bother. But do you know what? I enjoyed the game. It was an enjoyable game. We were fairly dominant for me. Two defensive errors give them their 2 goals, and I think we were unlucky not to come away with a win. I think there's lots of positives. There's obviously some areas that need strengthening, which I don't think's gone amiss with the club. And yeah, like I said, I pretty much enjoyed it. A few people messaged me, said, how's your nerves and all that, and genuinely, I pretty enjoyed it, to be honest. I thought we looked pretty steady away, minus the 2 defensive errors.
Yeah, I mean, like you say, like apart from the defensive errors, I thought we were doing good. I mean, so we've come out at half time. He's changed. He's taken Schilder off and he's put Byram on. Let's talk about Byram for a couple of minutes. I thought he generally had a good second half. I thought he was more attacking. He looked fit, and I thought like it's good to see him playing again, if you know what I mean, because I know he's had a really bad time with injuries. But for me as a Leeds fan to see a fit Byram, if he can stay fit, I think he starts over that left back. Don't you?
Yeah, mate, I don't disagree. Obviously, we know him well. He once he came through our academy, and he came flying out of traps when he first got into the first team. It's quite funny actually how it came about. He wasn't actually meant to get into the first team. I think under Warnock, we got an injury and he took him away down to Cornwall, I think, or Ireland, one or the other.
Of course, he did.
Yeah, of course. And he had a stormer, and then he broke in, and then obviously gets his move to West Ham and stuff. But yeah, I thought he was spot on, and you know what you get with him if you can keep him fit. He's technically good. He'll graft. He'll work. He's pretty good defensively, 1-on-1. He's got decent delivery. Obviously, a bit different for us because he's a right back playing at left back, but I don't think he looks out of place there. And for me, yeah, we play Tuesday night Shrewsbury or Wednesday night Shrewsbury, one or other.
Yeah,
For me,
Wednesday.
I'd give him a go from the start and see what see what it looks like from there. But yeah, I'm quite pleased to see him back, and I think it gives us good options. And if Cody Drama is to move on, because obviously he weren't involved today, he's been injured in air quotes. It gives us another option there as well. So
It
I think
does.
it's a pretty smart signing, to be fair.
Yeah. I mean, it just made sense, didn't it? It just made sense for us to just get that cover, a 1-year deal. It probably won't be on big wages. He's probably thinking like, oh, if I play well here for 6 months, they might just give me another contract for another 2 years or something. You know, I mean, how old is he? Late 20s, is he?
Is he
Sam Byron?
29, I think?
Is he
29,
29?
28, 29,
So
something like
he might be playing for that contract to see him out till what, 32
yeah.
or something like that. Because he's a Leeds lad. He came through the academy and stuff, and like you say, with Warnock and that, and I was really impressed, and I thought I just saw the lift in the team, and I really liked him. Just he's fit as well, and a few defensive headers and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
I mean, we'll talk about Shrewsbury towards the end about predictions and stuff. But I fully expect him to start on when I think it might be Wednesday night. I think. So moving on slightly, 48th minute, we've got a corner, and I'm thinking something needs to change here. And then it was switched to Somerville from because I think it was it Gray taking set pieces in the first
Yeah.
half, and I think he switched to Somerville, and obviously Cooper goes up, a clean header, great header, scores a goal, but then he lands funny. Now, are you worried? I know we've been linked with Nat Phillips, and the rumor is that we've bid for a I forget his name. It's about that long, his last name, from Greece, and so by going off the rumor mill, we're looking at 2 centre backs, right? Are you worried about our depth at centre back?
Yeah, a little bit. There's been the rumor as well about Cooper going to Saudi potentially. Obviously today's injury might put pay to that, but yeah, it's definitely an area that needs reinforcements, like we talked about. Nat Phillips would be a great start at that, and then the Greek guy, I don't know anything about him. I don't know. Not managed to YouTube his name yet to form an opinion, but
Yeah.
but yeah, it's. I think it's obvious that we need reinforcements there. And it's probably time along with Cresswell to start sort of freshening that area up and changing it up a little bit. And yeah, but going back to Cooper's goal, it's a fantastic header. It's perfect. It's headed down, makes it difficult for keeper. If he tries to kind of loop it, it's one of them where the keeper probably can save it. So yeah, it's a great header. Brave to chuck himself up there and just lands a bit funny. I think from what I can see, I've not watched it back to see how the injury came bad and if he got fallen on or whatever. But you score a goal and you look at it and then you go, right, we're back in it now. That's it really. Time for us to push on,
Yeah,
really.
like you say, like a salmon comes to mind. He leapt and he activated his neck muscles definitely because it went downwards towards goal, keeping no chance. When I saw it, when I've seen a replay of it where he's coming down but he's off balance, so he's tried to counteract the weight of his body, but it's like if his knees sort of gone like that and wobbled it. So and when he tried walking on it, and you could just see him flinching. So it doesn't look good. It's not looking good, bruv.
No, especially when stretcher comes
Yeah,
to carry
yeah,
him off. That's never a good sign.
yeah.
But yeah,
Just
well,
injury after
fingers crossed
and
it's not too bad. Hopefully,
yeah. Hopefully it's not like career ending or he's not out for a long time. I'm hoping that he's just hyperextended. You know, he's is it PCL or whatever, ACL and that. Hopefully a full recovery to Cooper. But a good header. But once that goal's in, obviously crowds lifted, and you know what, it's electric when we're, like you say, 2-0 up is a very dangerous scoreline because you're not safe. A lot of teams like to, oh, we're 2-0 up, we'll just take it easy. But all it takes is that one goal. We've seen it when case in point off the top of my head is when we were losing 2-0 at home to Millwall a couple of years ago, and we came out 3-2 winners because of that Pablo goal.
yeah.
And it's just like once that goal went in and I saw the crowd went up, and I knew that because the magic, I know it sounds very Tim Potty, but the magic of the crowd gets behind the players, and they are that 12th man. Now, obviously, it's not good seeing Cooper go off and that, and obviously, segueing into young Charlie Cresswell goes back into the back four. Now, was it Euro under 21s?
Yeah.
Obviously, just to step sideways, he's just been given a 5-year deal. I think it's to 2027. Now, are you happy with that?
I think it protects the club, doesn't it? That old classic of give him a 5-year deal. You know, if anybody comes a knocking, they're paying premium price for him. I think he's still got a lot of developing to do. He'll naturally get longer from the fans because he's obviously one of our own, as the saying goes. I think he's good. I think he's a good defender. You know, he wins tackles. He's decent one-on-one. He's got a fair amount of pace. The threat from set pieces, that type of stuff. But I think we also need to give the lad time. You know, yeah, he went down to Millwall. He had an up and down time. Obviously, broke his cheekbone and stuff like that. And we still need to be able to let him develop into that number 5 shirt, into that 5-year contract. If we're kind of expecting him to come in and play week in, week out now, right as in right now, for the first 3 months of the season, I think we might be asking a little bit too much of him. But I certainly feel that he could, over time, grow into that position and make it his own, and probably be there for the 5-year deal. To be honest, he's got everything going for him to do it.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. For me, he's definitely. I mean, I know he had a brilliant start to the Championship last season. I think he got over 20 appearances and 5 goals, which is good, really, for him to go out on his first loan and just try and cement his place in their team. But obviously, like you say, like was it the second half of the season where he broke his cheekbone and he obviously had to have time out of it. But I think it's a good. I mean, a lot of people reading into like, oh, he's been given the number 5 shirt, so that means he's starting sort of narrative. But he can only get better for me. Can Charlie Cresswell? I mean, saw today was that Ugbo, I think it was, or is it Itete? One of the tall lads up front for them. And you just beating them back, just beating them at headers, and it's good for me to see, like we want young lads that want to prove for the shirt. They always say that the Leeds shirt is very heavy, especially the number 9 shirt, which we'll get onto in a minute. But yeah, I think it's a very good. And what do you think his overall performance was for the second half?
Yes, I mean it's easy for him to come back. It's easier for him to come into a side where they're dominating and they're on the front foot, and they're looking to take the game to Cardiff. But everything he got asked to do, he did, and he did well. And he can see him talking, and he wants the ball, and he's not hiding, he's not shying away from out. And yeah, I think he did. I think he did what you'd expect of him, to be fair, to come in. And like you said, mate, he's still only 20, is he 21, 22, something like that?
20 or 21, yeah.
Yeah, and it is a big thing for him to come in and wear the number 5 shirt, and you've got to always take that into account as well. But no, I thought he did spot on. I'd start him against. I think we'll have to start him against Shrewsbury, to be fair, but I would definitely start him against Shrewsbury.
Yeah, definitely start him against Shrewsbury. And then on the 52nd minute, we've got Nonto, great bit of feet skill, and then he's so unlucky, because it comes off the keeper and it dinks onto the bar. You know what I mean? It's just like you sat there thinking, is this ever going to go in? Are we ever going to get this second goal? But moving into midfield, I think Ampadu, for me, I think he's. A lot of people have tooted it and said that he's the Calvin Phillips replacement that we've needed. Now, I'm entitled to agree with people. I mean, it's early days, but I've said that he's future captain material. If he keeps playing up, and because it's the little things for me where it's just, even his passes have got venom in them. Do you know what I mean? They're not rolling. They're going straight to the player. And I mean, there was one point where he picked out Nonto in the first half from the halfway line, and albeit he were offside, but it's like, just the vision and just to have that in your legs just to pass it out. He's only young as well, isn't he? About 22.
Yeah.
So
yeah, totally agree, Dan. I think he's got a lot of the similar attributes that will probably draw comparisons to Calvin. Them long raking passes, and he appears to like a tackle, but But yeah, I must admit, I think he was my man at match today. If I'm honest, he probably won't get it. It'll be given to one up front forward. I don't know who actually got it, to be fair, but yeah, he was my man at match today. Did everything he wanted, nice and calm at times as well. When sometimes young players can be guilty of just shanking it into a good area, but obviously that's not what Fark wants him to do. And yeah, won it back, dropped in at times and made the three. Him and Archie Gray took it in terms to drop in and start possession and start moves off. And yeah, I think he'll probably just go from strength to strength. And I think from his point of view, he needs a home. He went to Chelsea from Exeter at I think 15, 16, something like that, and then he's been obviously farmed out to many different loans, and then kind of became a little bit of Chelsea's forgotten man, where he was going to be the big thing, and then he hasn't been. And then obviously he found himself at Sheffield United a couple of years ago. My friend who was a Blade said he was very impressed with him, even in a poor side. And based on today and based on pre-season, I think he's a fantastic signing, especially for the money that we've paid. And again, I think he can go from strength to strength. And I think again, just going to bloke playing at side of him in Archie Gray, I thought he had a great game. For a young lad to take that occasion, first team debut, first game back in Championship, packed Ellen Road, noisy, did everything you want him to do. Did it well, didn't try and overplay. Sometimes players are guilty on the debut, trying to do a bit too much to get themselves sort of seen, and he didn't do that. He just played, and he turned things over. He drove forward a couple of times with a little bit of skill down at right hand side where he went past two players, and you kind of see what you got from him in the 21s and the 18s before that, where he does that quite a lot. But obviously, I think he was conscious that he wanted to have a safe, steady away performance. And I think ultimately when we strengthen the midfield, which we've got to really, he'll be the next person off the bench, I would imagine. But back to Ampadu, I thought he was spot on. Yeah, really good, if I'm honest. Really good. Looks like a top signing.
Yeah, I mean with Ampadu, a lot of people were saying, "Oh, he's got 3 relegations," and they like to point out about that Sheffield side where we played them. When he was playing as a centre back, and I mean, I won't worry because I did like Ampadu. I know I've seen him play for Wales and stuff like that, and he's 22, and I think he's got 40 caps for Wales or 50. I know it's very high at 22. He's definitely going to be a centurion for Wales for me. But you touched in on Archie Gray as well. 17. He's 17 years old. That family, honestly, they need to get vials of their blood and create some sort of super footballer, because that dynasty is just unreal, isn't it? And he's become the youngest Gray to become for the debuts as well. I just couldn't believe that. I just couldn't believe.
Well, say it quietly, but apparently his younger brother's even better. But yeah, don't say it too loud.
We've just got
yeah.
We've just got a factory of Greys in the back, just waiting, just a factory coming out.
Team full of Greys.
Yeah, team full of Greys, mate. I'll take them all day. Well, get Eddie back. Get Eddie back. He'll do a job.
It looked like he can still do a bit, to be fair, Eddie.
Yeah. But yeah, so then you got the Dan James disallowed goal as well later on. I mean, right, this is one thing that, I mean, shout out to Joe on the Leeds United podcast, The View. He brought it up as well, and he's saying like fullbacks can't be offside all the time. I mean, Ayling were caught offside a few times. I know Byron were. Is that just the byproduct of an attacking fullbacks, or do you think it's sloppy from Luke Ayling to be offside for so many times?
I think we've got to give a bit of credit to Cardiff. They were quite decent defensively in terms of they got high, they had a decent structure, and I think they had obviously drilled that to get high, and they did catch us offside a couple of times. So got to give a bit of credit to that. But I do agree that if you're being able to look directly across the line, there's no way he should be offside. I mean, Alioski was one of when we did Talking Shot. Alioski was one of my targets regularly because he was constantly offside from offside. Yeah, so he was constantly offside from that left hand side. He used to drive me insane. So yeah, there is an element of they shouldn't be offside from wide positions where they can see straight across the line. But I think today you've also got to give a bit of credit to Cardiff. They defensively they were decent in terms of getting up and making it hard for us to a degree.
Yeah, I agree, and I think Callum O'Dowda, I thought he had a great game for them. I thought he dealt with the opposition, our fullbacks easily. I thought he was really good. I know he's converted to left back, isn't he? I remember when we were linked with him from Bristol, and he was decent, but obviously, when you go to the Premier League and you come back down and you're like, oh, I thought he played for, that. You got Jed Wallace at West Brom. That's all
I
on
met
about.
Carlin Grant turned up today for kind of Cardiff. I was like, oh, doesn't he still play for Huddersfield? Then I
I
forgot he'd
know,
been to
yeah.
West Brom in between, yeah. So
I
yeah,
know,
yeah,
yeah.
I'm saying, mate. I'm saying.
It's like, wouldn't you would yeah, no. It's just you don't know, do you?
Yeah.
But obviously, and then you've got Sinistera, where this is going to be a bit controversial for people out there, but I wanted him off at about 75 minutes because I thought if you take him off and get Pervader on, and I thought that because he just looked tired or disinterested to me, but that's just my objective opinion. Did you get the same vibe from Cine, or did you just or what vibe did you get from Cine in that second half?
Yeah, not his best game. However, you've got to look at his involvement in the equaliser. To be fair, love a bit of skill at edge area that creates that. But
I quickly deleted that tweet, by the
way. But like you've got to, I don't know. Again, I think Cine's probably much better in a wide position. He's not a 10, is he? And yeah, and I think as a result, you probably didn't see the best of him. Yeah, it could have been better for me today, and there probably were a shout to remove him at 75 and bring Pervader on, who, in all fairness, when he came on, were a massive threat. And you've got to be starting looking, thinking, well, we can't be letting him go. Really, he really did take it to Cardiff, made it hard for him, got at him, positive, and different to when we've seen him before, where he's been positive but quite wasteful, as in he'll do a step over too many, or today he didn't. He was positive, trying to drive towards box, get balls into the box, and he weren't guilty of overplaying. And I think he's done himself no harm in still wanting to be staying about the place, especially if we're looking at potentially Somerville and Nonto maybe moving on before the window shuts, and maybe even Harrison as well. He hadn't done himself any harm in staking a claim to hang around. But yeah, back to the original point, Dan. Yeah, I don't think Cine had his best game, to be fair. But that's what you get with Premier League players, where they might not be great throughout the game, but the one bit of class that they can do creates what you get from it. And I suppose that's what you might lose by taking him off. But that's why Farke gets paid a fortune and we don't, to make them decisions. So.
Yeah. I mean, like I say, I quickly deleted that tweet on the 95th minute. But talking, like, obviously the subs were made. Pervader came on, Geldat came on, and was there someone else that came on? I forget. I'm terrible.
Byron half time, Gellat, Pervader, and that was it, wasn't it?
I think that was it. Welcome to the Not Another Leeds podcast, where we forget things a lot. So we've made them changes, like you say. You've touched on it there. Pervader's come on, and I just thought it were exciting to watch. I think because he's had apparently obviously he went on loan to Blackburn. Fans raved about him there, and then he had that injury, so he had to come back and rehabilitate, and then he went out on loan again at Blackpool. But apparently he had a bit of an attitude problem with Mick McCarthy, and so he's dropped him. But then, soon as they've soon as they've reconciled, he's straight into the starting 11. So, do you think that he's gone sort of like Jack Harrison mode? Because I saw on Instagram where he's just been like, where they're filming themselves training in like Vegas and stuff, and they've got tigers and loads of gold and jewelry and Mercedes and stuff and women, and not in a gym, but and I think it seems like he's sorted his attitude out, but he's got stronger as well. He has filled out a bit. Do you like you say? I mean, do you think he's turned that corner, and do you think he can be important for us in the future? I know you've touched on it, but
it's really difficult, isn't it, for a young player, because you've got to look at the full package, not just what happens on the green stuff. And I think he went to Barcelona, he went to Brentford. I think he at Arsenal or something.
Arsenal for a bit,
yeah. And like been all these massive clubs, and probably gets that fly in his ear saying you're going to be the next big thing, and then with that comes big money and big deals and all that, and it kind of has a danger of going to head a little bit. And maybe what we're getting now is the evolution of Pervader as a person, and the growing up kind of thing, and maybe he's starting to realise that he can't be certain ways to get to be able to deliver what his talent will let him. And this is the thing with football. Sometimes the most talented of players don't get on because their attitude's poor, they don't train very well, they don't put the work in, that type of thing. And I think maybe the penny's dropped a little bit that he realises he can't be like that. And he's certainly been grafting. I think the reports from pre-season that he's been up there in pre-season. I think Shackleton won the bleep test again, which again is no shock because the boy's an absolute machine. But I think Poveda was up there with him as well. So, ultimately, talent-wise and ability, he's got the world at his feet. It's just, can he live up to his talent and ability? Will his ego let him? Like, it draws a little bit of comparison to Weston McKennie for me last year. That obviously you don't sign for Juventus if you're a poor player.
You can't mention that name, Gary.
However, for me, his attitude compared to his ability just meant that he could never succeed, because it felt to me like he couldn't get himself and his ego on the pitch at the same time. And I might be totally wrong. It's all right for us watching 90 minutes of football a week and making opinions, but that's what we get to do by being fans. But yeah, I hope Poveda comes and sets the world on fire, because again, if he's playing well, then Leeds are playing well, and that's all I really care about.
Yeah, moving on to Joffrey. He seems to be in this limbo where nobody knows where to play him. Is he a 10? Is he a 9? Is he a false 9? He's definitely not a winger or like that. But because he's been compared to Rooney, but I think that's just in stature, really. But we all know he can score. But I think I don't know what the Sunderland fans thought of him last season. Where do you place Joffrey?
Difficult, isn't it? Because again, he's another one of them who comes with great fanfare, and he's going to be this and he's going to be that and he's going to be other, and did really, really well in the 21s and 23s when it were that, him and Sam Greenwood set that on fire. But first teams are all different kettle of fish entirely. And I think last year's move to Sunderland, as much as he got him minutes in his legs and he got him game time, he had to play as a 9. I don't think he's a 9, if I'm honest. I think he probably can play in a 2, where he can sort of rat around the big man, little man type thing. But I think he's probably best playing off someone, like withdrawn from him, because whenever I've seen him, when he's played up front for us in the past, is he wants to drop deep, he wants to get it, he wants to turn, he wants to run at people, and that's when you get the best from him. However, he doesn't quite have the attributes that would fit into a Farke 10, where, if you look at Buendia, when he had Buendia at Norwich, I know you're talking probably a different class of player at this moment in time, but he's got that eye for a pass. He had a little bit of the Pablos about him, Buendia, where he could do a bit of everything. And Joffrey probably doesn't quite have that at minute. He still feels to me like he's quite a raw talent. And I'd probably be on board with, if we got suitable replacements, not replacements, but if we got suitable reinforcements in that area, I'd be an advocate of letting him go out again and get some more games and really, really dial into what position he plays and get the best from him. I think I watched him a couple of times for Sunderland last year, if I'm honest, and again, playing as a 9, it's difficult. I don't think he's a 9, particularly in the Championship. It's a slightly different standard of football in terms of
it's more physical, isn't it? Yeah,
more physical. But I think he just still needs a bit more time to kind of develop and find out where he is. I personally think he's better playing off a main person. But will he do that at Leeds? I'm not sure.
Well, the time will certainly tell in the future. I hope he's one that will start at Shrewsbury. I think Farke is still sussing out his squad, so he must have. We'll talk about that in a minute, but let's get on to the most important part of this match, the equaliser, where I took my shirt and pants off and celebrated. I think it was all a blur. Don't quote me on that. So the ball comes out to Cine. He's done a lovely little turn. And then I think he's just thought, I'm going to go for it here, and he's struck it. It's ping ponged off 2 or 3 different Cardiff players, and Somerville's in the right place. It's slightly behind him, and credit to Somerville here. It's the ball's behind him, but he's got power on it, and it's accurate enough just to go past on the inside of the post. That is great talent, and throughout the match, he's been the one to watch. I think he might have got man of the match. I'm not entirely 100%, but I think he deserved it.
Yeah, it's a great finish and a little bit of luck our way for a change, where the shot does bounce to one of our players rather than bouncing to one of their players or bouncing wide. And yeah, it's good it's good technique, or techers as the kids call it, when it is behind him, he has to kind of switch his body a little bit and put it in that bottom corner. And I've been critical of Somerville, not from a player's perspective, but I still question his attitude from time to time. If I'm honest. But you can't fault it. I thought he played well today. Again, he grafted, he causes problems to teams, and I'd like to see him, Cine, Nonto, even James play off a central striker, a real focal point. I can't see that being Patrick Bamford, if I'm honest, because he's made of rice cakes. But really get someone in there who they can play off, and I think you probably get even more from him at that point.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, just touching on Bamford then. He's another one where, like I said about Ealing with the last dregs of the. Don't clip that bit. The last dregs of the rag and stuff like that. I just think Bamford's finished at Leeds. I think he's over his peak. He peaked in the first year in the Premier League. I know there's people out there saying you don't know what you're talking about. They're probably right, but I just it's just his injury record. We can't keep up with it anymore. Rob Price is probably just I put a meme out the other day where there's I think it's an Indian lad, and he's like that. He's like looking proper disappointed, saying Rob Price seen all these good bodies leave, and you've got Patrick Bamford and Firpo. Just rename it the Bamfurpo Medical Centre, because they seem to be in there all the time. But I mean, strikers is another major spot where we need recruitment, in it. I mean, it's just. Would you bring in two, or would you have Bamford as a bench option?
I would move Bamford out, if I'm honest. I just feel like probably his time at Leeds has come to an end. Not just because of the injury record, but I feel like some of the fans' approach to him, and it's a big hurdle to get over when some of the fans, may I add, don't believe in you. I know, like I went away a lot last year and year before, and I weren't at the game today, and I've only ever heard nothing but support in the ground for him. But you still hear the audible groans when he misses the chance he should take, and things like that. And I just listen. He's been a fantastic servant. He was a large part of why we finished so high that first season in the Premier League, and he'll go down as one of them players that fired us to the Premier League and all the 16 years and all that type of stuff. But sometimes it just becomes a sort of natural end, and I feel like we're probably at a natural end. With Bamford, and I feel that the way that Farker wants to play as well, and he wants to be quite front-footed and aggressive, and by all accounts have done a lot of fitness in pre-season. It probably doesn't work that well for Patrick Bamford now, because he just can't seem to stay fit, which is no fault of his own. I think his body's just letting him down.
Yeah, I mean, I saw today. I think it might be Pope, Adam Pope of the YEP. He said, the BBC Radio Leeds. Sorry, he said that they did in one day. They did 10 times 1 kilometer runs. So that's double sessions, isn't it, for Bielsa-esque, you could say. But yeah, I do think we do need additions, which takes me on to obviously we draw 2-2. Just to finish this segment off here, overall a good match and decent point, would you say?
Yeah, like I said, game one of a 46-game season. I'm not worried yet.
Yeah, 100%.
Enough in that performance for us to get better, improve, grow as a team, and make it hard for teams. And do you know what? I got a text off a mate who was a Watford fan saying, "Well, I can't believe you drawn with Cardiff. They're woeful," and that's a different Cardiff to what played last year. They had a little bit more threat, and they might be down there, they might not be down there, but I don't know. I watched Leeds today, and I watched Leicester today, and I watched Southampton on Friday, and they've spent a fortune. They've got big name players in there, and I'll be honest, nothing really that I've saw today makes me think that at this moment in time we're going to be, light years behind them. I don't feel like that's the case.
mate, today, right? If it hadn't have been for, I mean, I don't like digging players out that much, but that if it weren't for that Sims for Coventry, I think Coventry could have been 2 or 3 ahead today.
Could
And
have
I
been.
mean, I'm not being, I could have done a better job than Sims. You know, he's a professional footballer. I'm Saturday League's Luke Varney, but I just couldn't believe it. Like if they'd have brought on that, yeah, had you right? If they'd brought him on earlier, Coventry could have beat Leicester for me today,
Yeah, mate,
100%.
I totally agree. Totally agree.
Casey Palmer were their best player. He was controlling things in the middle, passing it. There were about 5 or 6 chances where they were on the attacking phase, and that Sims just ballsed it up. He either knocked it wide or his passes were rubbish. Anyway, this is not another Leeds podcast, not another Leicester commentary podcast. Right, just to round it off then. So you standout players for this game. If you had to give man of the match, I'd say who would you give it to? You'd say Ampadu?
Mine would have been Ampadu. Yeah, I think.
Yeah, I think it was close for me. I think Somerville's just nicks it because he got the equaliser for me. And just to finish off, mate, just a prediction for Shrewsbury on Wednesday. You're the manager. Who do you pick?
I think you've got to keep the spine of the team to a degree. So I think you probably see Cresswell come in because Cooper will be an injury out now. Does Darlow get a go? Because we've not seen him in a lead shirt yet. If Drama's fit, does he come in at right back? Byram to start at left back. And then into the middle, you probably keep Ampadu. You probably keep Ampadu and Gray, if I'm honest. Then forward of them, you look at giving Joffrey a go. But then really, again, with only 16 players, it kind of picks itself to a degree.
Yeah, you're right.
So it's kind of, I think Farker will want to build some momentum. So I wouldn't be surprised as well if it was unchanged. If I'm honest, I think he'll want to keep drilling the formation, keep getting a bit of positivity around it, and I think he'll also want to get past Shrewsbury, if I'm honest, because otherwise it'll be a right embarrassing thing when it get beat by Shrewsbury.
Yeah, I mean, I think he'll want that confidence match. You know, like the whole point of pre-season is to probably get that synergy and the that winning breathing confidence and stuff like that. So if we no disrespect to Shrewsbury, but if we go out there and pan them absolutely like 5-0 or something, that would be good for Birmingham away, won't it?
Yeah.
Right then. Thanks very much, guys, for coming on today. Really appreciate it. It's been a good old chat. Gone slightly over. I do apologise. Thanks everyone for watching, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to help me out there. And thanks again, and we'll see you soon. We'll see you next week.
Cheers, Dan.